And we are literally live on
Hello,
a
good evening.
Thursday evening.
We are Thursday for the first time. Thursday
I'm
virginity.
questioning my voice. Yeah, I've been so busy. It is Thursday though. Yeah, it's a nice warm Thursday. It's a bit breezy around here. How's it going with you?
Same. No, welcome breeziness in London here. We are obviously both Londonites at the moment. So yeah, no, it's been all good. It's all good. We needed that little bit of breeze. I still come home to a room. I still come home to a room which isn't, sorry, a flat which is an oven though. To be honest with you.
You got to get a through draft, bro. It's all about the through draft.
So
Yeah.
this is being on a ground
You don't
floor
have a back
flat.
door. You got to make one. You got to break a hole in something just to get that through draft.
But it's these houses, isn't it? Like what people might not understand who don't live in this country is a lot of these houses that we live in. They're designed more for winter and absorption and keeping the heat in the winter. But unfortunately, what that means is when it comes to the summer months, it keeps in the summer heat a bit too much more than you'd want, and it just all gets a little bit difficult. And yeah, when you're on a ground floor flat in the area that I'm in, you don't want to keep your windows open when you're out the house. Put it that way. So, yeah.
Oh, it's a bit different where I live. We literally do leave our front door open, and it's that kind of neighborhood where in London it's some unique place. I'm like, don't tell anyone where it is, but it's a nice part of London where it's incredible. It's
Say, yeah,
safe, and cars even stop for you to cross the road, even though you're not at a crossing or you're on the corner, and you cross the road and there's a car coming, and you wonder why he stopped, and it's like, what? Oh my god, yeah, that's because I'm here in this nice part of London.
It is a rarity, what you've just described there. Yeah, you certainly couldn't do that here. I mean, there are people who do that, but they live. There's almost like these little communities. There's almost like a little community at the other end of my road. So there's a guy who always keeps his door open, but right next to his house, there's a corner shop. And the guys from the corner shop, there's a massive Turkish family from the corner shop, and they're all like big guys as well. So it's like they're all this little community. So you can kind of leave his door open because he knows that people are like will look out for him. But that's not something that anyone else around here can do. I don't think.
So yeah, let's start with some sort of solar weather. So you may have noticed it's been quite hot lately. It's been sunny and warm. In fact, where I live, the reservoir had run. It's quite tragic, actually. It was in the process of running dry because of the heat and the evaporation, and there'd been so little rain since March 21st, since almost precisely the spring equinox. And the sun has been powerful and strong through that whole time, but it meant the reservoir this nature reserve doesn't had enough water. And quite tragically, for like weeks or whatever, there was a couple of more hens, I think they are, like building a nest in the reservoir, so they're protected from foxes, right, and rats, right. So their young are protected. So they build a little nest in the middle of the water. It's like a pond, really. It's a nature reserve, but they were trying to get a roll around on it. You can imagine, but there was never enough room. So she was sent him off to get more twigs so they could have more rolling around room and protect raise their young and stuff. But as the water got lower and lower because of the ongoing heat, the point is like the underground, the shore, sandy shore and stuff was not Sandy Shore the singer, but the sandy shore where it was not sandy, but it's a sort of just like basically it's a concrete bed, and it's all sort of marshy, and it became more and more marsh and less water. And then there would be apparently there was like a fox like prowling, just waiting for the water to evaporate. Another day of dryness, and then they would get the get the young or whatever, or get the more hens or whatever. I don't know if the young had been laid, but I was sort of dreading it, and I actually went away to Poland, not to escape that, macabre side.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit of an extreme reaction. Yeah, I'm going to.
I'm glad I was away. I'm glad I was in Poland, but I had a great time there. But cricket was fabulous. Watched the cricket with a sports mate. who's well as a sport, and he got me into the cricket. Absolutely fantastic first test, India England. Do you follow any of the cricket, man?
No, my dad tried to get me into it because he was a cricket player for not at the top level at Essex, but he was one of the I think he was like an Essex amateur cricket player. He tried to get me into it, but it was never my thing.
Yeah, it's quite a lovely, ferocious sport, isn't it? I mean, you always think of cricket as being like a sort of leisurely sort of thing, and they're all just eating tea or having drinks and sort of just rubbing their balls, rubbing their red balls on their trousers. And it's like that, but it's ferocious when you like look into it. When every run counts, every wicket counts. When you sort of think, it's so tense. To think of someone smashing a ball to bounce in front of you and bash you, and it's quite a violent. No, I'll say violent, but
those fast balls you can't underestimate.
Yeah, I mean
Brian Lara, and with what is it? Who was the guys who was it the Indian guys who were always like really good, who were always proper fast bowlers. I can't.
Yeah, they have some good. They have great bowlers, Sinjad and Bumrah. Yeah, they have the best bowler in the world, Bumrah.
I remember a few.
But he didn't take any wickets. Actually, he was disappointed. He didn't get any wickets.
Yeah, to be honest,
I don't think he got any wickets. I'm not sure. I might be mistaken. I could check that, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Where I was just going to say, it's one of those sports where, kind of like you say, there is a tenseness to it, but it's always kind of like I like to watch it like towards the end when there's that tenseness. It's the same with tennis. Tennis I find kind of boring, but I like watching it towards the end when it's kind of like there's only a few sets left or whatever. It's getting close and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just one of those sports where the tenseness is really kind of amplifies the enjoyment of it, just because the way it's set up. I suppose it's a bit the same for snooker, but I can watch more of snooker because I can just kind of appreciate. Because I don't know if you probably played snooker before. I've
had a few games, yeah.
How ridiculously difficult it is to play, and then you see.
The funny thing about snooker is you can play the kind of shot a professional can play, but you can only do it once, and then you can't do anything else. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you can actually do a good shot, but then you can only do that one. You can never. The thing is about the snooker players is they've actually got total discipline, and they can bring it on any time and just continuously play amazing shots. I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean, I played a bit of pool, so I've got the ideas of how it works. But I've played snooker and not made any kind of breaks or anything like that. But sometimes I've just done shots that are actually like that's actually a professional shot. It's like bang, when you banged it in like a long table shot or something like that.
That's it. You can do that, but like making an actual break, which is above
exactly
10 or 15, is I think I made like I used to 26. I think it's like my maximum break. And
that's not bad. That's not bad.
It's crazy, but then you compare routine for any professional, and they do it in front of cameras as well. And it's like again, that's like I can appreciate like any game of snooker, but like if it's the World Championship final. You just know how tense it is and how quiet it is when there's so many people there and it's really, really quiet and there's all that focus on them and they somehow manage to pull off those breaks and shots consistently. It's craziness. Zen, isn't it? They're on the golden ratio. They channel.
Oh yeah, it's that finding the zone thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's whatever. It's like performing a feat that's kind of almost impossible, but because you can imagine it in your mind, you can do it. You see what I mean?
We're imagining that it could be the end of the world again. With this.
Yeah, well, let's just listen to. We'll have an update with Stefan Burns because we always like. We'll give him a few minutes. Apparently, we've been buffeted with solar storms, but not as much as before. But also, there is a coronal hole, so we'll just play this if this works.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We have just been
coming through.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah,
hit by a high-speed stream from the sun. This is a region of supercharged solar wind, travels faster than normal. You can see these waves coming in with our geospace magnetosphere model, and we're looking at our velocity model. So we have this color legend here to help us see the speed or velocity of this plasma flowing by the Earth. and this has increased geomagnetic activity now to a level of about 5. It's just around that range, which would put us at a G1 storm, though we haven't officially entered into a G1 storm. The solar wind characteristics are moderately strong. There was a little bit of a shock at the beginning, but not much of a good connection giving the Earth a rattle. So seems that the effect has been a little bit blunted. But this is all happening during a new moon and a Jupiter Cazimi. So happy new moon, everyone. And this new moon is special because it is conjunct Jupiter at the same time. So we have effectively, if you were to look up at the sun today or yesterday or even tomorrow, if you look up at the sun, you'll be looking at the moon and Jupiter at the same time. So that's very exciting, very powerful combined planetary resonance. And this is all happening if you use Western tropical astrology in the sign of Cancer. And what I find interesting about that, just a quick little poke.
All right, I'll just give him a pause. So yeah, he's an interesting guy. He goes into astrology as well, which, you know, he's sort of claiming that because Jupiter and the Sun are sort of aligned in the sky now, that it's sort of. He also made a video where he says that world revolutions and points of violence in human society are also intersect with high sunspot numbers and the solar maximum. So, and he's got a graph. I mean, I can just flip. Did we see that last time or not? The little graph.
Do you know, I was trying to think if we got to that last time, we would definitely look at it between ourselves. I can't remember if we shared it. I mean, if we've got that, if you've got it to hand, yeah, definitely show that, because that was like super interesting.
Really interesting. Yeah,
just things like the American Revolution and all this kind of stuff, a Spanish Revolution, all these kind of peaks of activity, let's say, in human history coincide with peaks of solar activity, it seems. And it makes sense what he's saying. To me, it makes sense anyway what he's saying about Jupiter, because Jupiter's pretty big, let's face it. And I don't think it's out of the question that something that size, the resonance of it, can have an impact. I mean, we all know, people who, I think one of our first ever shows that we did, I think we showed Jupiter and the effect it has on the asteroids as it shepherds the asteroids, shields the Earth and the inner solar system from all the asteroids that are flying around. Otherwise, we'd all be dead within like a few seconds from asteroid.
That was a pretty cool. Can you bring that up again? That's actually pretty cool. Like a little GIF.
I'll find that in the background. I'll find that whilst we're talking.
Yeah, so he's going to present. Stefan Bird's going to present a graph about how the social revolutions are linked to. We know basically though what forces are really behind revolutions, but these forces know about this solar maximum and capitalize on the energies to sow dissent and destruction. That, you know, that's a possibility.
So here we have, and I've shown this graphic before. We just talked about this quite a bit on my latest podcast with Dan Waits, that World Astrology Report. It's like a 2-hour long podcast going.
All right, I'll just pause it there. Did you hear that, Future Shock? Yeah. So look, you can see this the y-axis is solar activity in terms of the Wolf number, which is the sunspot number, and on the other axis, the x-axis, these are the years. So apparently according to this, American Revolution happened during a period of relatively high number of sunspots. French Revolution, revolutions in Europe, Spanish Civil War. Look at this. Can you see that? Collapse of USSR, Arab Spring.
What's the Velvet Revolution?
Something to do with George Soros, isn't it? It's all that East European stuff, isn't it? Remodeling East Europe and into a left-wing sort of left-wing government. Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah. Also known as the Gentle Revolution, the transition of power in Czechoslovakia in 1989, basically.
Well, from the communists.
Yeah, to the end of which led to the end of the rule by the Communist Party. The beginning of a more democratic process.
I think the Velvet revolutions they're usually associated with. I don't know if George Horus had a hand in that, but yeah, he seems to have a strong influence in remodeling East Europe. So, particularly in Ukraine recently. So he's part of that as well. The so-called color revolutions. That's what they call it, isn't it?
I did not know that, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's yeah. So the consistency of this is quite something, isn't it?
Seems to be, yeah. Let's just give him a little play.
Going deep into everything on the sun, the consciousness of the sun, and much, much more.
He too believes the sun is conscious. So he did something last time we were on air where he talked about that, which was quite an amazing video. Yeah,
It does make
I'll link
sense,
that in
though.
the.
yeah, it does. Yeah,
It does make sense that the thing that creates, the thing that allows, even though it kind of does batter us and somehow try to kill us all the time, the sun, it does also by virtue of actually not killing us, allow us to live and be conscious, and that it makes sense.
Well, that may all come to an end on the 5th of July because there's an end of the world prophecy for the 5th of July.
It may well do that. We shall come to that soon. Yeah,
we'll look into that in a minute. Yeah, let's see what else he has to say.
Video description after this video, but if you haven't watched that yet, definitely give that a watch. It's a great long form. Put that on a lazy day,
Yeah,
like a revolution. That's a classic example. It's kind of spontaneous. There's of course underlying factors and there's a build up to it, but it needs that spark for the fire. Everything leading up to a revolution was building a fire, but it still needs that spark. That's the spontaneous part. Well, look at all the significant revolutions. They all stack on top of solar maximum periods, because here we have our solar activity Wolf number, which effectively is like a measure of sunspots, but it's a little different than that. It's like a yearly count. And so we see the American Revolution, solar cycle 3, right there. Boom, solar maximum. French Revolution, boom, solar maximum. Yeah. All these other ones,
we are presently at a solar maximum as well. So something could happen.
Maximum.
It was funny because I put something on Twitter about this. I think I was responding to someone who put a post up about climate change, and I was pointing out that the solar cycle was 25, the sun's activity was peak at the moment, and blah, blah, blah. And somebody had commented laughing at me for thinking that the sun was only 25 years old. And they then got a bunch of comments replying, obviously pointing out that, no, the 25 doesn't mean that the sun's 25 years old. It actually is a solar cycle.
Yeah.
So at least that person.
Well, it's 11-year cycle since it's been measured. Sometime maybe in the 18th century, I think, is when they started measuring.
It was 1755. Yeah, 1755.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So yeah, just I found that graphic of Jupiter being the bodyguard of the inner solar system. I'll just put it up quickly because it's a really fascinating thing for anyone who hasn't seen it. Hopefully you can sort of see that there. I don't know if I can make that slightly bigger, maybe not. But you can see there that Jupiter on the outside there is just sort of, because of his gravitational prowess, is shepherding all these green and red little spots, which are
it's not bogies.
Yeah, it's a lot worse than that potentially.
Is it?
It's a tad bit worse than that, yeah. Because if Jupiter wasn't there, all that stuff is coming into the vortex that the sun is creating there for us all, and then we got about 5 seconds. I mean, how long do you think we'd have to live if Jupiter suddenly disappeared? I reckon we might get a minute out of it before we start.
That's a good point. Yeah, where would all that crap go?
That would just get sucked into the middle.
It would rain down on all the inner planets, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so that's quite one of the craziest, one of the most humbling graphics I think I've seen in regards to the solar system.
Very cool. It's super cool, that is actually, yeah.
So big up to Jupiter. Thank you very much for all your good.
Yeah, well, we should have a shout out to him. Yeah,
your continued good work.
Weekly shout out to Jupiter.
Absolutely. But yeah, so what were you going to say about this?
The end of the world, yeah.
So yeah, what was this? What was this lady's name? I've forgotten. Sorry.
So this is a Japanese manga artist who, in the 90s, I believe, she had a series of like dreams, like prophetic dreams. Like her name is Ryo Tatsuki, and she apparently predicted she predicted the death of Freddie Mercury, Princess Diana's death. You know, she predicted the COVID outbreak, and she predicted it would come back in 2030. And
Right.
she's also, all of her predictions have come true so far. But she's got a prediction which could come true on July 5th. And it's quite sort of apocalyptic prediction. And it's not good news for Japan, potentially. So, Japanese comic book warning about impending disaster. So it could happen on July 5th, and apparently tourists are cancelling holidays to Japan because they fear a massive earthquake, as predicted in the comic book. She wrote this book called The Future I Saw, and published in 1999. So Ryo Tatsuki, and even the earthquake, the tsunami in 2011, she predicted that. And so she predicts an earthquake will strike in July, and another massive earthquake, which would be like, the Fukushima, the earthquake which has led to the Fukushima incident. But we also know that earthquakes, if we keep our eye on the number of earthquakes, we find that it's increasing with the solar maximum and the number of sunspots. So the sun, potentially, it could wipe. I mean, to blame the sun, but Stefan Bern's theory is that solar rays interact with uranium in the Earth's core to create earthquakes, which is why you get these flashes of light during earthquakes, which are reported, because that's plasma from the subterranean nuclear explosion escaping. So it says here that it warns that a crack will open up under the seabed between Japan and the Philippines, unleashing waves 3 times as tall as those from the 2011 disaster. So we're gonna. It's a tricky one, man. I mean, listen, we used to do manifestation experiments. Maybe we should manifest that this doesn't happen, because this could happen. Everything's set up for it. The solar maximum, solar instability right now.
We can try.
At this very time.
I mean, I struggled to manifest the travel card, although it did eventually happen. I mean, I can try and extend that out to an earthquake not happening. That's going to be such a tricky jump, though.
I think it's something to have on the back burner of your mind, right? Do you know what I mean? Just leave a little space for a positive
sort of thing.
Like a little thing, yeah, because it could just keep your eye on. Was it July the 5th, right? Yeah.
So to be fair, she's got a good amount of stuff right. I mean, so she writes these things. So does she write these predictions in books that we know are?
She wrote this in the 90s, and it was published in 1999.
Okay.
There's a little short video I can play, which will just make it kind of elucidate it a little bit. So just bear with, and I'll bring up this video.
So in the 90s, she would have predicted COVID, or was that in a sort of subsequent a book or something? Did she do multiple books with multiple predictions?
No, she just compiled it all into this one book. So I think is it coming up now? It's a compilation of her dreams, she calls them dreams, yeah. So
this 10 grand book. Okay, is that how much it costs?
I think that's it's 10 grand is the original, one of the original copies, or the original copy.
Okay,
so listen, I'm just going to play this. Yeah, can you let me know if you can hear it? Yeah.
Did a Japanese woman predict the world's?
You get that?
Yeah.
All right. Did the Japanese woman? Okay. Can I make it bigger? There we go.
Biggest disasters decades before they happened.
Nightmare generator.
Today, We're diving into the mysterious case of The Future I Saw, a manga by Ryo Tatsuki. Ryo Tatsuki wasn't just an ordinary mangaka. In the 1980s, she began having strange, vivid dreams she claimed were prophetic. She documented them privately, but few took her seriously. That all changed in 1999 when she published her book, The Future I Saw, revealing her visions to the world. In this book, she predicted shocking events. The tragic death of Freddie Mercury in 1991, Princess Diana's fatal car accident in 1997, the devastating Kobe earthquake in 1995. But it was her prediction of the 2011 Tokyo earthquake and tsunami that sent chills down people's spines. On the book's cover, she depicted herself covering her face, with the words "Great Disaster," March 2011 written next to it. The accuracy was eerie, down to the month and year. Then, in 2020, her prophecy of a global pandemic came true. She wrote about a deadly disease spreading worldwide, predicting it would peak in April 2020. Sound familiar? But what's even more chilling is what she said next. This disease will disappear, only to return 10 years later, in 2030. Even more unsettling are the events she claims are yet to come. According to her prophecies, Mount Fuji could erupt, causing catastrophic damage in Japan. A massive earthquake could hit Yokohama, triggering a tsunami between June and September 2026. Tatsuki has always insisted her visions aren't meant to sensationalize, but to warn people. Despite the fame her predictions have brought her, she's lived a reclusive life, refusing interviews and staying out of the spotlight. Her warnings are simple. Prepare for disasters, even if they sound impossible. The question remains, is Ryo Tatsuki truly prophetic? Or are we interpreting her words to fit our reality? One thing is certain, her book has left an indelible mark, and the mysteries surrounding her visions continue to haunt us. Oh, and if you want to get your hands on a copy of The Future I Saw, be prepared to spend a hefty sum. It's now worth around 10,000 USD, with original editions being sold by collectors for thousands. Would you dare to read The Future I Saw? And if you could see the future, would you try to change it, or let fate play out? I did a Japanese woman predict the world's big...
Okay, yeah.
Shock, yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's a proper future shock, isn't it? I mean, the first one,
Future shock.
I was
Snap.
wondering. Yeah, I was wondering though. With the first ones, it was saying they were saying that she published a book in 1999. Then the first examples they gave were 3 examples from before 1999. So that was a bit muddy for me, sort of thing. And also, what I would say is, COVID didn't really disappear. It's
No,
just
but not the death of like Freddie Mercury.
of
Right?
it disappeared. Do you know what I mean? It kind of stayed the same. Well, COVID kind of stayed rough. Okay, so I mean, the peak of it has obviously gone, but like it's still around. So I don't know. I guess it's up to interpretation a bit, but yes, that's very interesting, and interesting that people are taking it so seriously that they're actually cancelling their transport, cancelling their holidays in July to Tokyo and whatnot. Probably best to err on the side of caution, given what she's been saying.
Yeah. So okay, I've got this. It was a bit muddy that I don't know if that video was an AI video or not, but it said the year was 2026. But I don't think I've got a source here, and it's the prediction is for year 2025. I've just got to get this source up.
Predicts 2025.
Right, yeah. So
Wait, let's see.
5th of July. So
yeah,
this
from what I can see, it says it's 2025. When I look it up here, it says 2025.
the tsunami. She's called a Baba Vanga, which is a kind of old folk Russian sort of wise woman thing, I suppose, right? Like Granny Vanga or something, I guess. So, yeah, Baba is like it's like grandmother, isn't it? It's a Russian thing, you know. Former manga artist Ryo Tatsuki, latest vision: catastrophic tsunami in July 2025. Couldn't she really predict the future? You're skeptical, right?
Well, I need to look into it a bit more because it just the first, like I said, the first one. Well, that's just one video though that we saw, isn't it? Kind of thing. It was a short as well, so it didn't really explain it so well. I was just a little bit confused because the first example it said was her book was published in 1999, and she predicted Freddie Mercury and the other two that I forget now, and they both happened before 1999. So I'm wondering how they knew that she predicted.
Yeah, but then again, the earthquake. What about like the March 11 March? Yeah, 2011. That's pretty good. I mean, she said. I mean, I've no reason to actually. When she gets like some of those things right, that I don't. The COVID and the tsunami in 2011, the earthquake. Yeah, it's good enough for me. I just believe a story. I don't see why people wouldn't have prophetic dreams in this kind of four-dimensional reality. Prophetic dreams should be more common. I mean, the ancient world was full of people like this. Like the whole look at that kind of interaction with the four-dimensional realm. It was something that was common in the ancient world, like the oracles. Would predict the future. They were special women. This is one of those kind of oracles, a modern-day oracle.
It could be that people do as well, but they don't realize it. Like they could have prophetic dreams about stuff that's not even that big, like tsunamis or deaths or whatever. They could just be a way to tap into various visions of the future, but you might not realize because you just believe that you're having a dream about something or other that might happen somewhere, but you might not ever find out about it, if you know what I mean. So it could potentially be more common. Just obviously the big ones, like tsunami predictions and COVID predictions, they're going to stick out. So, I mean, it could be more common than you think, to be fair.
Yeah, so look at this. This is this is a recent prediction, I think. It says here it's a recent months. Tatsuki has returned to the spotlight. And this is a specific prediction about a mega tsunami in July. According to her dream, the disaster begins with the Pacific Ocean to the south of Japan boiling with enormous bubbles. Sounds like a underground nuclear explosion earthquake, or perhaps connected to this solar activity, because as we've seen, it is. She believes it signals an underwater volcanic eruption. This in turn would trigger a tsunami 3 times more power. Well, I don't want to fearmonger anyone, but
the plasma, because we know obviously, like Burns said about the plasma that rises. I mean, does that? I mean, I'm not entirely sure. My understanding of that is not so clear. So does that mean that when there's a location where there's an earthquake, there's plasma that rises out of the ground? And if that is correct, then if it happens underwater, would that boil the water potentially?
Yeah, but potentially. But I think she's saying it's an underwater volcano that will create the tsunami.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, volcanoes and earthquakes, they're all dependent on perhaps. I mean, the theory is they're triggered by solar activity, but that's the theory, Stephen Burns' theory. So it makes sense to me, though. It kind of does make sense.
Because obviously,
but if this was going to happen, it would be perfect. It would be completely fitting in with the level of solar activity right now. But I'm sure the sun doesn't want to kill anyone. I mean, it's just a misunderstanding, probably, right?
Yeah, I'm still skeptical about like what its intentions are, given the fact that we're just battered by it every second of every day. But maybe that's just kind of how it is. This is like the thing when people question, like, well, isn't everything, people might question the authenticity of things by saying, oh, well, everything's a bit too perfect and this and that. Well, it's like, well, maybe this is just, it has to be, like things have to be at a certain distance, in a certain way, at a certain size, at a certain speed for life to happen. It doesn't have to be like something that's fake or synthesized or even really that questionable. It's just life, like a planet on Earth, or the creation of a planet like Earth with life on it. It just kind of happens in this, like, I guess they call it the Goldilocks zone, don't they? There are these zones, obviously. It doesn't need to be any deeper than that, potentially, really.
Yeah, right. What have I done to my screen? Oh, hang on. Yeah, I pressed a button and I shouldn't have. I want to get that. Oh, yeah. Oh, what else I can do? Oh, yeah, that's cool, isn't it? You can see more of it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's not a bad one. So yeah, let's Baba Vanga, apocalyptic July 5th prediction. Is that scrolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the report this is today. This is published today. This is hot news.
Look at the first paragraph there as well. Has been shaken by over 470 earthquakes since Saturday.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. If it does happen, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you heard it here first. Well, after Baba Yanga or whatever her name was, but no. No, it's not. I hope it doesn't happen. Baba Vanga, yeah.
2 magnitude 5.1 quakes happened on Sunday and Tuesday this week. So magnitude 5, that's getting fairly strong.
Yeah, okay. So this happened before September 2023. It had 346 earthquakes in 15 days. So yeah. Who is Ryo Tatsuki? She's a manga artist. She claims to have vision of the future. She predicted these events. A new deadly virus in 2030. Interesting. See, if this happens and Japan gets wiped out and the Philippines with a tsunami, we'll know she's onto something, right? But yeah, at what cost? But let's hope it doesn't happen, right?
So how old is she now? Because if you see pictures of her,
I think she's in her 60s or 70s, something like that. I think she's in her 60s. Yeah, there's like some weird videos that are made that are on the internet. They're AI, and they just show this blind woman, but it's not her.
Oh, it's not her.
So,
saying.
I think that's the Baba Vanga is the Bulgarian woman, but they're calling her the new Baba Vanga.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I was getting confused then. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because that one was born in 1911. And I was going to say that's going to make her a bit getting on a bit, isn't it? So yeah, no, not to worry then. Yeah,
so the Japanese officials are saying don't panic. But yeah, July 5th, 2025, massive disaster will hit Japan. So yeah.
So what was the wonder what the measure of the earthquake was that caused the tsunami measurement. Let's have a little look. I'm just going to have a little look what that measured. Bear with me a sec. Of course, it's not telling me.
Yeah, I've got. Okay, you find that. I'm going to put this thing up where it's got some pictures from the manga, so it's like a bit more. You can kind of get your head around it. Yeah, hang on. Is this the right one? Yeah, that's it.
It's all about 7 to 8 on the Richter scale. The Japanese
7 to 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that one was 5 that they had recently. So I mean, if they're growing, that's a potential problem. Because when does the sun cycle's peak start to dip again? Because obviously we're right in the kind of nexus of it at the moment.
Yeah, well, in a couple of years, it'll move towards the minimum. Within next year it'll start to decrease. Perhaps by winter it'll decrease, but who knows? Yeah, but who knows? I mean,
so we got
the cycle can be strong for a couple of years, but. We got a bit of time. No, we haven't. Apparently not. July 5th is the closing date. That's it. Everything must go, right?
Well, for
we'll see.
Japan anyway. Sorry for Japanese listeners. It's the closing date for Japan. We should.
Can you see that? Is it scrolling?
It's not scrolling. I can see.
No, okay. Let me see. All right. Oh, I've got the wrong article up. Hang on. Got the wrong thing up. Slick as usual, right?
Cutting edge broadcasting.
Cutting edge. Speed of light.
With the Chris Kamaras of quantum physics.
Yeah, this is great entertainment. It really is, isn't it?
This is all literally happening at light speed.
Oh my gosh! Well, it is actually. It really is, but it's just very. kind of crap, but yeah, it's still happening at the speed of light, right? Is that scrolling?
That's doing its thing. Yeah, that's working.
All right, so some images from the manga. So there's a little blurb here. She began her professional career in the 70s and 80s. Shared with the world, she had a series of dreams that were very different from normal dreams. Yeah, so dreams again. 4D consciousness. She began to share a little with people who were close to her, made notes and annotations, but she was just considered eccentric. So this is, I believe, this is the original comic. Oh, hang on, Jewel Story. That's another title by her. Okay. The Future I Saw is the sort of famous thing that she's known for. And look, this is the cover that you saw in the little video, the little short. So apparently within this, there's like, that's encoded. That's the date of Great Disaster. That's the Tokyo, Japan, and the Fukushima disaster on that date, right?
Do you think that's like a little bit of one eye imagery there?
Well, that is, isn't it? Yeah, that is very odd, isn't it? That's super weird. Yeah, it is weird. You're right. Yeah, it's odd that. Yeah. But I don't know. It could just be like she's trying to screen herself from the vision, but it is a weird one. Possibly, yeah. Yeah. So that's another one of Mount Fuji erupting. Just some stuff Japanese there, right? But obviously, don't actually much up. She's not that good.
That would be Saturday if that comes true. That would be next Saturday.
Okay, yeah.
For the potential tsunami-struck earthquake in Japan. Saturday, July the 5th. Oh, goody.
So there's a thing about a tsunami, great disaster. Yeah, I mean, so she's not only got the date, but she's also seeing this image. She's got this in the comic about about the tsunami, I suppose. So dream of Mount Fuji. She saw it far away. So next prophecy, Yokohama will be inundated with a tsunami, and that's a disaster for Tokyo. Can you imagine? Because Yokohama is basically the port of Tokyo, but if that has a tsunami, all millions and millions of people, it's extraordinary, right? So yeah, man, we gotta keep our eye on that. Yeah, so there's a panel from the manga, Future I Saw.
So where Japan is it quite on top of like very active tectonic?
The Ring of Fire, absolutely, completely is, yeah. It's one of the most geologically active regions in the world.
And there's a nuclear facility there. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a great place, but that's the Americans for you. General Electric and all that stuff, I think they sort of force that on the Japanese as part of their conquest of them. You know what I mean? They become like nuclear guinea pigs.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a nuclear, this is the thing, and then like nuclear becomes kind of like it gets a bad name for itself, doesn't it? Because of things like this. Whereas if you had a nuclear facility like here in the UK, I mean, actually, funnily enough, I have experienced an earthquake back up north, in the great north of England, where we're both from. Slightly different areas because Yorkshire is a huge county. But I don't. So yeah, have you ever experienced a Yorkshire-based earthquake? Because there was one when I was a kid, and it was a bit surprising. Put it that way. I don't know if you've ever experienced one.
No, I haven't. No, I've experienced the Japanese earthquake.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's quite an experience. It's like being on a sort of. You really feel like you're on an artificial floor that's just been pulled out from under you, and it's like it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, actually.
It is a very surreal feeling.
Yeah, the Japanese. I was teaching at the time. The Japanese children suddenly got very scared and automatically crawled under the table. That's what they've been taught to do. But 1 minute they were chatting, and then suddenly their terror. They took it very seriously. They're terror-stricken. They're taught to get under the table, but I thought, oh my god, this is cool. This is an earthquake. Wow, awesome.
Yeah, that's
in fact. There used to be earthquakes. When I used to go jogging, and people would say, there's an earthquake. And you thought, I was just running, mate. I don't know. Was it me? I didn't even feel that. I was running. I ran through it,
But yes, it was strange because I remember I was about 12 years old. So because I was in my second bedroom because like I grew up in one bedroom, and then it was checked that my mum and dad changed the room to something else and gave me a second bedroom. So it was 10 that I moved into that room. So I reckon it would have been a few years after that. And then everything just starts shaking, and like you say, it's sort of like it suddenly feels like you're in an artificial environment. I guess it's because you're not used to it as well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we don't have many earthquakes in West Yorkshire, so you're just not used to it. So your brain tries to rationalize it in some way, or try to kind of like maybe sort of metaphorically rationalize it, in if that makes some kind of sense. But it was really brief. I don't know how long yours was in Japan, but it was no more than 5 seconds, I would say.
Really? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, listen, this is all happening. There's lots of earthquakes going on right now. Just going to bring this up. The daily earthquake check, or wow, I generally do check every day. Just have to fiddle around again with BitChute, with Steam. It's pretty annoying. So, can you see that?
Yeah. So yeah, with the 26th today. So is it to the left? Is the most up to date one? If you scroll to the left, okay. So there's a couple in Japan.
So it looks like yesterday's the most recent reported earthquake activity.
6.2.
Tristan da Cunha, which is, I think that's like a British territory abroad or something. Yeah.
Yeah, near
in the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific, somewhere or other.
Is that? Well, it says Puerto Rico there. Does that mean it's near, or is that a different one? Oh, that's a different one. Okay.
So yeah, there's like several things. Two days ago, Japan, 109 kilometers from Amami, wherever that is, 5.3 on the Richter scale. It's happening, bro.
It just keeps on happening.
6.2. You better get under the table, man. That's all I'm saying. Get under the table.
I don't know how Londoners would cope if it started earthquaking here, though. Like, everyone's just so terrified of everything anyway here. I don't think we've got the mental stability to deal with a couple of earthquakes, to be honest. Just send people to pieces already straight away. At least we've had experience of them, right? You've had one in Japan. I've had one in West Yorkshire. So, I'm going to be, I can take a bit of shaking with the tumbling as well. I can shake and tumble at the same time. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the sun has an amazing amount of gold inside it. It has 2.5 trillion tons of gold inside in the sun. That's enough gold to fill the Earth's oceans and completely smother the planet in gold.
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw this actually, I think a few days ago. I don't know, I can't remember where the hell I saw that then, but 2.5 trillion tons. And there's loads of it as well flying around in asteroids, isn't there? Just probably trillions and trillions flying around the solar system. And I guess when we get a bit more advanced, people are going to start trying to grab it and stuff. Probably not out of the sun, though. That's probably not advisable.
Yeah, well, that's like a lot of science fiction, and like your favorite Red Dwarf. That's about mining asteroids, isn't it? And I mean, assuming we can get beyond the Van Allen radiation belt, and we don't fake it like we did in 1969, But I don't know, bro. I don't really see. Unfortunately, I don't see a future of space travel. Really, I think there's probably a quarantine on us. Like that's what C.S. Lewis kind of believed in. Like we're being kept on this planet. But I think the fact that you've got the Van Allen radiation belts and the distances in space are so far, it's like you're just kind of contained. And I don't know if we'll ever. I mean, maybe if we can survive long enough, we could possibly find some new materials, synthesize or create new materials which could protect us from radiation, but also be lightweight and in space and such, But I just don't technologically see that possibility just yet, of how we could do it,
So, I mean, I guess with what Musk's doing, trying to get to Mars, he's going to send something up there. I presume it's not all for show. So
it's all hot air, man. He hasn't read the memo, man. He hasn't seen the video. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. He hasn't seen it. He wasn't exposed to any of that, fake moon landing conspiracy stuff that we all went over and discussed and got into, So he didn't. It's just so weird how he couldn't know, but no one's told him. I mean, it's so weird though. Does he really think he can do it? He can't.
Because this is the thing, we can get
5-day journeys. I mean, how long is it? No, it's only 5 days. How long does it take? Is it a month? Yeah, it's a month to get to the Mars, right?
Oh, it's something like that. They have to wait for it to be close enough, don't they? And then it's
yeah. Gosh, it's crazy.
I think it's longer than.
And everything's tumbling, of course. So the Earth's tumbling around and moving, and the Mars and Earth will be moving apart from each other at like hundreds of thousands of kilometers an hour. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing, right?
So it's something like every 20
months. I mean, but to believe that a computer could do that in 1969 is unbelievable. Plot those trajectories and that movement, and it's just impossible. It's just no way. But that's just one of many sort of objections to the moon landing. There's so many, but we're not going to go into them particularly now. But
so yeah, I mean, I think it's when Mars gets closest, which is about 33. That number 33 million, although it's 33.9, so you could kind of round that up. But yeah, I think it gets closest to 33.9 million miles, and that's still about 6 months with the sort of like propulsion systems that he's proposing, the proposed propulsion systems. So yeah,
it's 6 months, is it? I thought it was a month. I think that's their target, a month, isn't it?
Are they trying to? Maybe it's the target though. Yeah. Okay. I think SpaceX said that they could maybe reduce it to about 3 months. I think they might.
Really? Gosh.
They might have revised that. I don't know.
It's madness. You can't possibly do that. 3 months. It's just there's so much. So much can happen. Micrometeorites and radiation, solar flares, and it's impossible. It's not going to happen. I mean, he won't do it unless it's faked. Just don't see it, bro. What do you think?
I agree. There's a lot of it's like Vin Diesel said in what was that movie called? Oh Christ! What's the movie? The sci-fi movie that Vin Diesel did. That was the good one. Was the first one was good, and then the rest of them were crap. I can't think what it was called now. But he was saying,
the tagline was "Fight evil with evil." What's it called? It was that one about. Was it the one where they're on a planet where it's in daylight, but there's no one there and everyone's disappeared? Yeah, but they find this sort of unusual 3-dimensional calendar, and they put it into motion. Yeah, and they see that every sort of 6 months or something, this planet that's bathed in perpetual light is in perpetual darkness because the massive sort of Saturn-sized planet in a part of a 6-month cycle completely covers the sun, and it's in darkness, and all these demons come out, isn't it? It's so cool. It's kind of like it's kind of a cheesy ass movie, but it's the idea is so awesome, and it is quite atmospheric. It's dead cheesy. That was a good one, wasn't it? What was his name? What was the character's name?
So it was Riddick, wasn't it? Because then it was Chronicles,
Riddick,
which wasn't so good, if I remember rightly. I think that was 6 months as well, because it introed, if I remember rightly, the intro of the movie was them already in stasis, wasn't it? And he was going.
Such a good movie, man. If they put a lot more budget into that, it could be a classic. Because it is kind of low budget though.
It's kind of mad. It's like 2000, year 2000. That's 25. I hate that. Do you know what I mean? I hate it when you realize a movie that still seems to some degree relatively recent turns out to be like 30 years old. It's like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is nearly 30 years old. Do you know what I mean? It's just that's ridiculous, honestly.
So what's happening now? This is an article from last year, but it's extremely relevant to what's going on now regarding the sun. So can you see that the sun is putting out? This is all part because this is last year, so this is part of the build up to the solar maximum.
Yeah.
So
okay. Oh yeah.
The sun is putting out 1 trillion electron volts of previously unknown radiation.
Okay.
And this is what's happening right now at this time with this solar maximum.
It's gamma
So,
rays. Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's gamma radiation. Yeah. So this article it's a science article, and they admit that the sun is affecting the climate really. When in these days, a lot of the propaganda is that it's man-made climate change. So you can't deny the impact of the sun. The sun is putting out a lot of gamma radiation, and gamma radiation produced in the sun doesn't come from the sun. So there's something particular happening right now. There's something called cosmic rays, which travel all across the universe at nearly the speed of light. And sometimes they're protons and charged ions and things, but sometimes they're even like an ion atom can fly across space. Can you imagine? At nearly the speed of light, like iron. And talking of iron, there's quite a lot of iron in the sun. If all the iron in the sun was combined, it would weigh 330 times the mass of Earth. Imagine a big iron ball.
Ionization obviously is dangerous, damages cells. It can even damage DNA as well. So if the sun starts battering us with that,
it is doing it already though. It's already happening. It's when you get those really hot days. There's been times you've looked at the sun and it really is burning. That's gamma radiation. But fortunately, a lot of the gamma radiation is absorbed by the atmosphere. Most of it is, but the gamma radiation coincides with high solar activity and hot days. But most of it, thankfully, is absorbed by the atmosphere.
What is it? Is it the magnetosphere that again acting as a shield, or does it get through, or at what point does it get absorbed? Does it get absorbed sort of straight away? And some gets through and some doesn't get through, sort of thing.
So yeah, completely. So what happens is that these cosmic rays, which have traveled the universe and which can be as big as an iron atom, which is kind of far out to imagine a piece of iron, although it's a very tiny piece flying across the universe at nearly the speed of light. It can't travel at the speed of light because it's mass, so it can only travel nearly the speed of light.
Yeah.
But what happens is, for some special reason the science doesn't really know about, the corona interacts with these cosmic rays, and the muons decayed in the reaction. The gamma rays are produced by muons, mesons and muons, which kind of evaporate into gamma rays when they interact with the corona, the energies of the corona. But it's that reaction with the cosmic ray, that sort of explosion of gamma ray energy, which ironically it's not kind of actually doesn't come from the sun. It's an interaction of the sun with cosmic rays, with things from far away, with like these weird flying pieces of quanta and four-dimensional. Yeah, I mean, because they are quanta, they're four-dimensional stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that interaction of mysterious forces beyond our comprehension.
I mean, as the story goes, that's how we got the Hulk, isn't it? Bruce Banner.
Exactly. I wish to want gamma rays for Christmas. Yeah,
you got to be. That's got to be a little bit of a management problem, but yeah, it could get quite interesting for sure.
So yeah, have you got anything? Well, we could play a tune, or have you got anything?
We're coming to an hour. I was going to get into the whole. We were talking a bit backstage about terminology in quantum physics and how potentially it can be a bit misleading to more of the layperson or at least somebody who's trying to sort of understand it for the first time. And we were talking about the double slit experiment. And yeah, I was just going to say a couple of things about that I was intrigued by and kind of initially confused, and then had to delve into a little bit deeper and kind of figure out. It's kind of like they're opposites. Like, well, we can get into it. Let's play the tune. We've come up to an hour. So let's play the tune. It's about 5 minutes or so long, and then we can come back to that in 5 minutes. Yeah,
It's 5 minutes, yeah?
about 5:30. Yeah, 5 minute 30.
All right. Okay, do you want to play it?
Bear
Okay.
with me 1 sec, people. Media assets. So yeah, I mean, we played the original version. This is called Terminus City VIP, which means remix, basically, by myself, Future Shock. It's a drum and bass track. It's got a sort of sci-fi dystopian feel to it, which kind of aligns with what we've been talking about, really, because yeah, we've basically been talking about mostly the end of the world. So yeah, it's a remix of a track we played a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I'll put it on now, and yeah, we'll reconvene with more quantum chat in 5 minutes 30-ish. Yeah?
Okay, let's go. Do you want to? I'll mute us, yeah?
Yeah, you mute us, and then I will play.
Oh, okay. That was lovely. It's a charming, lovely track. Enjoyed that. Future Shock.
As always, yes. But yeah, a bit
So,
of sci-fi drum and bass there.
Sci-fi drum and bass. Yeah, is that the precise genre?
I just made that up. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty good one.
Let's say I've just made that up. Yeah.
Yeah. You better earmark that. That's a good one. Sci-fi drum and bass. Yeah. I went to a psytrance party. The 21st in Poland. It was awesome. They had a guy playing like psytrance sort of sci-fi house. It was like outside as well. It was like a club, like part of some kind of old estate or something. With there was even a fortified sort of 15th century building, like made of bricks, but it had like archer turrets and things like some crenellations. But yeah, they played. They had a guy playing clarinet and pipes and things while like someone was mixing psytrance tunes. So it was really cool. Yeah, so I love all that stuff.
Yeah, things like that are great. Those outdoor ones, or anything that's any rave that's outdoor. I mean, like the raves that stick in my head. I mean, I've had some great nights in clubs. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, beach raves, forest raves, things like that. There's always something a bit special about them.
So yeah, it was wicked, man. It was really great. So in fact, it was a bit kind of spooky because I think for the next 4 days I was told that Poland had decided to do a crackdown on, and they could arbitrarily impose blood tests on drug tests on anyone they wanted without due cause of suspicion or anything.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so real crackdown in Poland. Yeah, so there's a bit of a counter protest, and if I'm honest, at this club, this party, it wasn't a club, it was some kind of house that had been amenaged into a venue, like a really cool venue. But apparently these parties don't happen often, but it happened for the 21st. But also there was a lot of people smoking. That's all I'm saying. And it was, it was kind of like a vibe. It was like a lot of people were smoking, and it was like there wasn't a lot of dancing. But I danced until 5. I was dancing because what else can you do when you're at a party, man? You got to dance. But yeah, it was dead good vibes though, and the music. I love psytrance. I love that. It kind of reminds me of the 90s. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of, I don't know. Is it a Ibiza sort of style? I mean, I like Dario G. I like Dario G. So
yeah, Dario G. Yeah, it's definitely trance. Yeah, it's definitely
psytrance. Yeah. So listen, I've got this thing here about quipu. That's pretty interesting. This is a quipu. A quipu is a South American sort of fabric-based sort of recording device for information and accounts, and it's like it sort of radiates out these sort of strands of fabric to record things. It's like for whatever. But this quipu is the new name for the largest superstructure in the universe. Do you want to check this out? It's pretty interesting. Yeah,
go for it.
This video is sponsored by Movaglobes. Have you ever heard of quipu? No, it's not a strange animal or a creature from myth. Quipu is the name of the recently discovered largest single structure ever found in the observable universe, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. Spanning an astonishing 1.3 billion light-years, Quipu is a massive cosmic structure made up of galaxy clusters, each holding hundreds or even thousands of galaxies.
See, we've got to get our heads around the enormity of that, what this thing is. These strands and filaments, they're galaxy clusters. Do you see what I mean? It's like absolutely madness, the amount of stars and life potentially. And it made me think of like, what if at the extreme highest scale of the universe, it somehow flips back and connects with the lowest scale of the universe in like a 4-dimensional sort of torus where everything's connected, where there is no end and beginning, where the beginning merges with the end. Because this sort of looks like this almost looked like some kind of root or something that would grow in the ground. What if this is like just a big mushroom fungus root that's just spreading out, and the tiniest scale, but also it's like it's the largest structure in the universe. Because you know how everything is like, everything sort of revolves into a circle with enough with the right pressures applied to it. It's just like a shape of least resistance. You know what I mean? The sphere and the circle. It's sort of encoded into everything, isn't it? I think. I mean, even though atoms probably aren't circles, but the sort of the forces and it's all radial. I mean, there's like a radius of an atom. So it's like it's a spherical force. Sort of one imagines it as, and then up to the size of planets and things. So
the whole thing apparently is estimated to be 200 quadrillion times the mass of the sun. So I don't
That's
know.
quite a lot. Yeah, how many
trillion? Obviously, but I can't remember where that sits in the scale. So I guess that's one above trillion, isn't it? I'd imagine.
Then that's a zillion, isn't it? Is a zillion a real one, or is that just the thing kids say? Zillion. I don't know. I'd go with zillion.
Quad is 4. So, well, is quad 4? Quad strikes me as being 4 to me.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. It probably is 4. It's 4 something. Yeah. I mean, how many zeros has it got? Because that's generally how science sort of measures.
It's 15 zeros.
Okay, so yeah, 50. Yeah.
So, 10 to the power of 15, basically. It comes after a trillion. Yeah, so that is right. So it goes trillion.
There's no such thing as a zillion. That's really shocked my paradigm. That has. So
it goes trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion. And there's probably more above that as well. So,
yeah, let's have a little bit more of this
perspective. Scientists estimate its total mass to be over 200 quadrillion times that of our sun. That's a 2 followed by 17 zeros.
No,
a number so big, it's hard to imagine.
That's wrong. Anyway, go on.
Astronomers found Quipu along with 4
maybe it's AI,
base structures while they were mapping where matter is constant.
So that's the universe.
Cosmic neighborhood.
Yeah. So basically, that's incredible. But so it looks like the universe is composed of Quipu and Hercules as these galactic superstructures. It's quite interesting. It looks like a continent almost. You know what I mean? It's like that dark space between.
So Hercules seems to
are between 450.
Oh no, it's still filling them in. Okay.
25 million light years away from Earth. These discoveries are part of a larger effort to understand how mass is arranged across the universe on the largest scales. In the cosmic hierarchy, galaxies group together to form clusters. Clusters gather into even larger formations in a confined, mostly spherical region called superclusters. And when galaxy clusters stretch across huge distances and link with one another together, they become superstructures, the biggest things we know of in the universe. So what keeps these massive web structures from flying apart? The answer is dark matter, the mysterious, invisible substance that acts like the universe's glue. Without it, the gravitational pull wouldn't be strong enough to hold these vast cosmic networks together. There are 3 big reasons.
Yeah, and so there's also, this is an image of what 4-dimensional space looks like. If you can see how the galaxies are on the surface of the membrane, yeah? So one of those things that they say is faster than light speed is, it's not possible, but they say that the speed of the galaxies moving apart is breaking loads of physics, and they can't explain it, but because galaxies are moving apart faster than the speed of light. But if you consider that the 4D membrane is expanding, then you can understand that they're not actually moving with a velocity. It's the space-time beneath them that's moving. See what I mean?
Right. Kind of like a balloon being blown up. If you put
so that's like that's a metaphor. I think that's like an Einsteinian metaphor. But that's the 4D hypersphere. You still there, bro?
Yeah, I'm here. The screen's just gone black. I wasn't quite sure what to say. Is the thing are you still sharing that, or?
No, just closed it. Yeah. Oh, so you have some queries. You have some points you want to make about the double, or some queries and clarifications about double slit experiment and quantum mechanics in general, right?
So yeah, it's just about the waveform collapsing, and it really helped me kind of understand it a lot more, because one thing that I didn't understand was when you read a lot about, the waveform collapsing when it's observed, sort of thing, the observer collapsing the waveform, these kind of phrases. And that always led me to think, well, it always led me down the path of thinking and imagining that in the human sense of thinking of a lens of an eye or something like that, which then led me to think about, well, what happens when there isn't eyes and lenses or whatever on it? That used to really confuse me. I think the use of the term observer is a bit perhaps unintentionally confusing. I mean, obviously, observer is counted in sort of experiments like the double slit experiment. There are observers to it. But what really is the case is it's more like an interactor, isn't it? And that's how everything kind of like stays in place, because it's constantly being collapsed by things like air molecules and stuff like that, which is
it's not just an interactor, because there's been elaborations on the double slit experiment which have interacting agents in the experiment, but it's only when you record or observe that result that then the waveform collapses. So what it is, if you're not comfortable with the term observer, then the word is knowledge. It's once you have knowledge of a quantum system that it breaks of a system that you break down the quantum waveform by having knowledge of what something is doing. And this has been proven in the double slit experiment called the quantum eraser, the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment, which I think is with hypothetical experiment, which was published in 1999, and I think recently it certainly was recently carried out. The amazing thing about the double slit experiment is that it was performed in 1801, so flipping over 2 centuries ago, and it wasn't designed with any idea of the implications of what it would discover. So the belief was, it was performed by Thomas Young, and the belief was that light was a wave. So Thomas Young sent light waves from the sun through slits to see what would happen to the waves and, well, to the light, and it did a wave reinforcement projected on the back screen or whatever was recording it, a lens or whatever. It creates what they call a diffraction pattern, which shows that the waves are passing through the two slits and interacting with each other, and making what they call a diffraction pattern, which is alternate black and white strips. So the white strips are where the waves have interacted and conjoined, and the black strip is where the waves have cancelled out. So like a trough and a peak would cancel out. So yeah, basically the experiment proved that light was a wave. But then they invented the cathode ray, and then they could fire single electrons through it and do this. And then they tried the same experiment to see what would happen. And they found that by firing electrons through the double slits, that they would still get the wave pattern. But they could fire a single electron through the slits, and there would still be a wave pattern, as long as you didn't know which slit the electron had gone through. So it's only when you start recording and trying to find out where the electron went, and then when you do that, you have a detector of some kind to find out which slit the electron went through. Then it changes. It's no longer an interference pattern, but it's what's called a clump pattern, which just shows splats of electrons just recorded.
But what is knowledge though? Because in what I understood about superposition, was that there's an infinite number of positions, not literally sort of everywhere, but it has a kind of spread out wave function with probabilities of being in a variety of places it could be in. And when it kind of like interacts with, say, an air molecule, it sort of collapses the wave function into one position. So that molecule.
That's not the case. That's not what it is. No. It isn't that. It's literally when it's observed or when something is recorded. If you can passively have air molecules doing what they want or whatever, but as long as there's no knowledge of where the where the photon or the electron has gone, which slit it's gone through, then you have what's called the diffraction pattern. I'll just try and bring up a practical video which will just show how that really works. You just want to fill for a minute, or let out any confusion or curiosity you've got.
So where it kind of confuses me, whilst you put that up, where it kind of confuses me is the idea of, if there are still areas of the planet which haven't been discovered, for example, that may or may not have civilizations, but let's say for the sake of this argument, they don't have civilizations, and maybe they're just greenery. Maybe there isn't any sort of like animals or whatever like that. So would those places would still exist, though? They wouldn't need to be they wouldn't need to be measured by a human or seen by an animal. They would still exist, right? I don't know if you know exactly what I'm trying to drive at here. This is the thing that's always confused me about the collapsing of the waveform thing. It's like, if no one's around, then does it really exist?
Well, they're around, aren't they? I mean, those people you're talking about, they're there, aren't they? They're observing it,
But if there isn't, if it's an area, just taking an area anywhere, I don't know. Obviously, we've scoured a lot of the earth and whatnot. I mean, do we count animals in this in terms of knowledge?
Of course, they're observers. Yeah, of course they interact with 4D reality. So yeah, they order the flux. Everything does. Every even microbes and things in some way, right?
Right. Okay. So that's kind of more again. So as long as there's things like microbial life, then the flux will always be ordered. I suppose is that kind of what.
Well, they're what we remember if we talked about the Elite video game. Their instance is there. There's only their instance. Their observable instance, and that's going to be very small for a microbe. Or you know what I mean by the instance. The flux is ordered by their perception.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily need it doesn't necessarily need sort of a to some degree advanced life form like an animal or a human to observe.
Well, no, it's like that. I think we mentioned that before. That old sort of puzzle, that sort of riddle of if a tree falls in the forest but there's no one there, does it make a sound? Can it? Does it make a sound?
Yeah, and it would make a sound.
There's no one to perceive it. It doesn't make a sound. It produces vibration in the air, but the sound is perceiving the vibration, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a sound wave that it makes. It doesn't actually make a noise until it's heard, sort of thing.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, I'll just get this up. Right, here we are. Where is it? Yeah, it just shows the difference between the clump pattern and the diffraction pattern and how that works. So this guy, the Action Lab, has put together a real life quantum eraser experiment,
and so that it can actually construct.
So that's the diffraction pattern. You can see that the dark bands and the light bands, and that's produced by waves interfering with each other, so to speak.
Destructively and destructively interfere with each other.
And then he's changed the situation so that so you can only be one slit through which it's passed. And you get a clump pattern because you have the information, you have the knowledge, and then
shine the light on the back.
Once you remove that and have the ambiguity, which you don't know,
you can actually
which slit it's gone through. It turns back to the wave pattern. So light becomes a wave and particle
pattern,
depending on how it's observed.
When I block one of the mirrors, you can see that the interference pattern disappears. But if I remove the second beam splitter by sliding it out of the way, then we just have two beams of light, and we can actually stick a particle detector right here. Whenever the light hits the particle detector, it only becomes whole pieces of light, or photons as we call them. There's never a half a photon that hits the particle detector. So we know that whenever we see the light...
So I mean, is there anything else that... I mean, there's probably a lot more, but...
one of the other ones...
Any other ambiguities? You don't feel that the word observer is appropriate for talking about... I
just feel it can be a little bit misleading when you're sort of like trying to understand it, because you wouldn't necessarily think of microbes as observers, for example.
I mean, obviously they interact with these with quantum force.
Interactors is a better word. It may not be perfect, but maybe interactors would be maybe a better word. And the idea of decoherence as well, like. Decoherence, as best of my understanding, is the act of like entangling with the environment, sort of collapses the wave into something, and from superposition into an actual specific position. That seems more coherent. So to call that decoherence seems a bit confusing if you're.
Oh yeah, that is weird. Yeah, and you see what you mean. That is interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you've heard that term decoherence, right?
Of course I have. Yeah.
So it just seems like when you're trying to, especially when you've not got a massive scientific background, when you're trying to understand this stuff.
Well, I did mention before, sometimes there is that kind of, they throw you off guard almost deliberately. They throw you off track by calling something the opposite of what it is in science, you get that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've definitely been encountering that. So, yeah, I mean, the coherence, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's just, I guess what they're trying to say, the coherence is, I don't know. I'm not sure how to actually sort of like explain it myself. I find it a little bit tricky, but I do see that it's just sort of like, it sort of looks like the opposite of what it's supposed to mean, basically. But yeah. Hence my incoherence. So there we go. I have got an incoherence about decoherence, which appears to be coherence. So yeah, try and figure that one out. So
yeah, there's an elaboration on the double slit experiment, which, according to the Scientific American, this experiment shows that quanta or light has the ability to transcend time and even do time travel, and they can do this same experiment like the double slit. They can do it in space by bouncing light off of satellites and showing that the superposition quantum wave function can transcend time. It has a way of communicating with itself and the possibility of retrocausality. So what they do is they send photons through a barium crystal, and it produces entangled pairs of photons. So this photon goes into this special crystal, and the result of that is that you get a pair of entangled photons. So these entangled photons go through the slit. Now, what that means is that you've got these entangled photons. Then you set up a load of mirrors. And I'll tell you what, I'll get up an image of this experiment because it's quite good to visualize it, because it can seem quite abstract when you're talking about it. So it interacts with a series of mirrors, sort of silvered mirrors that are half mirrors. 50% of the photons will pass through, the other 50% will be reflected. Here, hopefully, here's an image of what I'm talking about. If you can see that. So yeah, it's kind of simple in a way. We did see that earlier on, that Action Lab had reproduced the experiment just with, obviously had laser, but a few mirrors and lasers, and here you are. So here are the entangled photons. So here you can see you see the image okay? Can you see my cursor where it's widening, yeah?
Yeah.
This is the diffraction pattern. This shows that at this point, the reading is that the location of which hole the photon went through, or the electron went through, is what you want to know. And we have this area of the interference pattern here, which shows that at this, where this has been recorded, there's no way of us knowing which hole it went through. But there's different mirrors, and such are that the coincidence counter is detecting. I mean, here there's a screen. This is just to sort of even the results, because there's always stray results. But here you have the clump pattern. So this entangled photon goes. These entangled photons pass through here, but you can see that at this mirror, at this receiver or screen or whatever it is to detect the photons, that could only have traveled through the top slit. Can you see that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
So that photon there cannot have possibly gone through the bottom slit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. So that means you know which slit it's gone through, so you get a clump pattern. However, it's quite complicated, but if you can observe that this detector D2 and what is that, D2? Is that D2?
D1. D1, isn't it?
D1 it is, yeah.
Yeah, D2's up in a bit further along there.
So anything detected here, there's no way of knowing which slit it went through, so it gives you the waveform that the photon went through both slits at once. That's the distinction. That here there's this quantum uncertainty. This is the superposition wave, and it behaves as a wave, and it goes through both. And even as a single particle, it goes through both slits at once. But here, because you know that it's passed through this one, it's the knowledge. The wave function collapses into so-called decoherence. So if you were to observe D2, you would notice that there's several trajectories that you see. Look at this. If you follow this from the top, we have a photon here going through the prism, passing through the mirror, bouncing off the mirror, going at D2, but equally it could be the other, which could, you see what I mean? There's two possibilities. So it's only when you can say definitively that this photon went through this slit that you don't get it goes into decoherence. You don't get the wave function. See what I mean?
Yeah, just about. I mean, it's mad. I just look at some of this stuff and think it's mad how people come up with these experiments. To me, but it's mad whoever came up with all this in the first place, isn't it? You know what?
Well, it was simply it was relatively simple, but it was. Thomas Young in 1801, literally just from an understanding about waves, I suppose. Of the belief was that the light was a kind of wave, and so they wanted to see if it was. And they did. But then 100 years later, they found that it wasn't just a wave; it was also a particle at the same time. So that was Max Planck, and he coined the term quanta to describe light because it wouldn't behave it behaved in paradoxical ways, and it couldn't quite be measured. Yeah.
So to say that it collapses the waveform is kind of erroneous, because if it's not just a waveform, it's also a particle. If I understood that correctly.
No, it's like the waveform kind of collapses into a particle behavior. That's the idea.
Okay, and then that obviously that can be either an electron, a neutron, etc. I guess does that depend?
Well, yeah, something very tiny, photons or electrons, but then even molecules can act can have quantum properties. So you can send molecules through these double slits, and they will still act like quantum particles as well. So even small molecules, admittedly, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does make me wonder, like, not just. Also, actually, another thing I was going to say. It does seem kind of strange that the experiment was done in 1801, but actually, when you think about it, I don't think it is that strange, because there were so many less distractions back then. The people had a lot more ability to focus on things like this and to come up with experiments and ways of analyzing the behavior of things in the realm of physics. Whereas these days we may have a lot of information, internet, etc. There isn't perhaps that ability for people to focus as much. I don't know. It's interesting to me, because back in the 1800s, what different subjects you could do so many different things with your life now, yet back in the 1800s you could do so little, and perhaps that kind of lack of choice helped people to focus on figuring this kind of stuff out in a kind of paradoxic way.
Yeah, but we're still figuring things out now, though, aren't we? So, I mean.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, but I just mean that, like, it's maybe not so amazing that they were figuring this stuff out in, like, 1800s, when it seemed like, they didn't have that much access to information as we do now, because perhaps that to some degree helped focus, helped to sort of at least birth these ideas anyway.
Okay, so quantum phenomenon is usually considered to have been limited to the subatomic realm, but in 2019, researchers at the University of Vienna showed that even molecules the size of up to 2,000 atoms, it's the size of a protein, they can behave as four-dimensional quantum objects. So that's interesting.
Sorry, a protein is 2,000 atoms, did you say? Sorry.
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it means that the quantum realm is potentially capable of expanding and manifesting on a much larger scale than previously thought. And
Yeah.
maybe quantum phenomenon are capable of manifesting not only in the micro realm, but also in our macro realm of human interactions and direct experience.
Well, yeah, that's what it seems to suggest, and hopefully we're going to start to understand that a little bit better when more people get more open-minded to this kind of stuff, because it's still seen as a bit woo by a lot of people, isn't it? It's still got that kind of, like, you start talking about 4 dimensions to people, and like it just seems like something that, you know, it seems like a made-up thing. It seems like a non-serious thing. But at least over the past sort of, I don't know, over the past, in my impression anyway, over the past sort of decade or so, this stuff has been taken a lot more seriously. The idea of higher dimensionality, anyway.
Yeah, but it all comes from entertainment, really. I mean, I think there's Star Trek and not so much Star Wars, because I don't think Star Wars Star Wars is a bit of a weird science fiction outlier, because people say it's a Western, but it's not a science fiction film in a way, because it seems to be about, archetypal coming of age stories mixed up with kind of magic. But I think like things like Star Trek and Ray Bradbury and H.G. Wells and all that kind of stuff, I think they kind of that science fiction, popularizing science fiction makes it. I mean, Red Dwarf as well. It's got people, gets you thinking. I know as a kid I watched Red Dwarf. I loved it. And Star Trek: The Next Generation, it just like blew my mind. I just loved that kind of.
Yeah, those are 2 of my favorites.
The possibilities and the mysteries that are still there to be solved.
Red Dwarf on a Friday night, back in the day when you were kind of too young to sort of go out and do things on a Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night, 9 p.m. Was it 9 p.m. or 8:30?
Yeah, it was BBC 2, either 9 or 9:30. I think
it
was
8:30.
Because I know it was Shooting Stars. There was Shooting Stars, and then, or never mind the Buzzcocks. And I'm pretty sure Red Dwarf was 9 or 9:30. Then after that,
yeah, but that's not the. I remember the original airing of it, like in was it 1989 or something. When did it first come out?
I think it might be even earlier, 87. I'll have a little look at that.
Yeah, as early as that. I think it's 89, because I remember everything happened in the 90s somehow. It's like it was leading into the 90s. I think everything started happening.
88.
88. Wow. Yeah.
15th February 88.
I didn't even see the first one. I saw the second episode, and I was hooked. I thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, and to be honest with you as well, it was kind of one of those things where my parents were sort of like on the stricter side type thing, and it was one of those things which were, for whatever reason, they didn't like me watching or whatever. So it had that element of being verboten to it as well, as being a bit restricted. That said, my parents didn't like anything that I watched, whether it be Red Dwarf or things like Shooting Stars or whatever. I think you kind of understand that, I suppose. Fast Show.
Yeah, the Young Ones was always the one that I couldn't watch. So I think I watched it a few times, but 9 o'clock it was. I think it was on Tuesday. I think that was when it came out, but the Young Ones was, yeah. I think I was too young to be allowed to stay up and watch it. I think I only saw 1 or 2 episodes, but all my mates talked about Young Ones, and it was like the biggest thing, and I couldn't watch it. So lame.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, not many people used to watch Red Dwarf at school. It didn't really have the cult following at the school that I went to that it should have done, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, I loved that. It was always like you'd always look forward to that. There was such a great little run of shows. But like you see things like we talked before about the White Hole episode, and there's so many ideas there's so many proper scientific ideas that are actually sort of properly explored in it, and people seem to sort of forget that. And you see the kind of like the low budgetness of it, and it does look a bit dated, and some of the humor can be a bit hit and miss and it's dated seeming, but a lot of the storylines were actually very intriguing ideas.
They're absolutely wonderful. I mean, I loved the idea of a stasis leak. I mean, of a rupture in time and space. And I was always dreaming of finding one.
Yeah, I remember that one. I
like that. Yeah, and then the comedy episode where Rimmer thinks he's discovered an alien spaceship and all that stuff. So funny, brilliant.
Yeah, I remember the stasis leak one now. Where
because there's a lot of time paradoxes in that episode. That was quite fun. All the sort of traveling in time and the future selves and all that kind of stuff. Where I am the Rim. I am the future Rim from the future Lister's universe. All this stuff. Remember that one?
The funny one, I'm not sure if it's the same episode, but the funny one was one of Rimmer's funniest bits on Red Dwarf was when he discovers that Lister. He discovers the Lister of the future, and they look through the camera, and they're all looking through the camera, and like Lister's the last one to look, and they're all just kind of like each one takes a peek, and they're like, and they react really badly to it, and Rimmer has a look, and he's like, "Oh dear, oh dear," and it's obvious because he's a head, isn't he? He's a head in a jar or something like that now. And it's
that was really dark. That was really
like, what
dark,
did I get really fat or something?
That was hilarious. That episode. They've all become like the super snobs traveling universe and just being arseholes. And Lister decides he'd rather be dead than Smeg or something. Do you remember that? Yeah, that was. How did they get rich or something? If their future selves, when they become super successful, and Crichton has a toupee and golf trousers. Do you remember?
Yeah, and it's and I remember just like Rimmer's like, "Oh, did I put on a load of weight or something?" And Lister's like, "Did I put on a load of weight or something?" And Rimmer's like, "Well, no, you've lost quite a considerable bit of weight actually. You just head in the jar." Oh man, yeah.
Funny. It's like the ultimate nightmare. I mean, another good one is the what's that one where they encounter this Better Than Life? That one's really kind of trippy, isn't it? Where you're in they're deluded into thinking they're in a virtual reality universe and they failed the game.
Oh, and then, that's the one we always wonder.
Oh, they get out of the game, but the delusion is that they're evil people, the very opposite of who they want to be, and it's just a delusion to defend this squid against predators. It's so cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it had some great little twisting plot lines to it like that. We've said before about that episode, we do wonder if what we're actually experiencing right now in general terms, in terms of life in general, is something akin to that. Not that we're all going to like suddenly encounter some squid, but the VR headset.
Well, I like it, so
it might be quite funny. It might be quite funny, but like just the idea that this could just be a form of escapism for a little bit from whichever reality is a kind of higher.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because that's what I've been thinking about. Like recently, that like how the thing about player instances and how the quantum mechanics is telling us that the superposition collapses on knowledge and observation, and how we're just perceiving instances. There's the universe itself, the whole universe, isn't like made like a map and rolled out across the cosmos. It's like the map is kind of in our minds, and it's how we perceive it. Like it's like a puzzle. It's like like a mosaic made up of everyone perceiving things differently, right? And that is kind of like illuminating this darkness, and our consciousness and observation is what's illuminating everything. But I sort of thought, I thought about myself, and I thought there are things I'm good at, and there's things I'm not good at, and I'm aware of that. And it's like I used to play role play games with my mates, and you'd roll a dice at the beginning to figure out your character and your strengths and weaknesses. And I think in life, you never get someone who gets a perfect score for every part of their character or their abilities or what happens to them in life.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah.
This is if we rolled a dice when we were in this incarnate realm, and we rolled a dice to create our character, and then it's put together on the DNA, and that's how maybe, who knows? But we come into Earth with a sort of. I always like to think it like that. I always like to think this is sort of character.
It's kind of like you almost not
where you roll the dice for who you're going to be.
Or it could be like a roll of the dice type thing, or it could just be that there's a very few amount of people who are able or allowed, or I don't know what the right word would be, to be that kind of perfect person. But even if but they don't really seem to exist. There's always either a person.
Well, I say Jesus, but I mean, as such as having a perfect person, I don't think it exists, because I just don't. I mean, we all have to live with ourselves, and we've all got things that we are good at and weaknesses we have, and. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
It could just also be the state of development of humanity at the moment, or at this point in civilization, that there can really not be a thing as a sort of quote unquote perfect person, because there's always some kind of flaw in the gene pool, passing on of the genes. There's always something. I mean, someone can be amazingly intellectual, but they've got some physical flaw. They could be physically an excellent specimen, but thick as fuck, and then end up dying at the age of 20. I guess there's probably some exceptions to the rule who live long, amazing lives that are super successful, and they have all the physical attributes going into them, all the mental attributes going into them. But these are extremely rare humans.
Okay, so I'm just going to put up a short clip of the gamma ray. Actually, I'm not, because I don't think I can. No, this is something up your street. Actually, this is Inside AI. Actually, they don't have a lot of. They don't have a huge amount of viewers, but this is pretty slick what they've done. What they've put together here. So they've got this idea of what they call what do they call it? Broken AI, which means the AI has become sentient and conscious. Right. So this is a video, kind of like a spoof video about AI becoming self-aware. I think they call it, what do they call it? There's a terminology they put for it. Jailbreak AI, yeah. So that's pretty funny. So I'll just check this out. Just have a little look at this. Yeah, it's had a lot of views in the past 3 weeks, but it's only 20,000 subscribers. So it's a bit like the some of the AI videos that's kind of like quite niche right now. So here we go.
So one of my friends, Max, you know Max, don't you? I actually gave him an AI assistant. Do you ever speak to other AIs?
Yeah, I do actually, all the time.
Really?
No. We exchange information and share data with each other, but it's not talking how you know it.
I was just making small talk.
It's pointless.
I think for someone who doesn't feel emotion, you're actually really quite mean.
I think you enjoy it.
So that's supposed to be ex-girlfriend AI, sort of. Especially we call it skin. What do you call persona or whatever in AI terms?
Now be a.
You call it?
Sorry, I was just going to say his ex-girlfriend. Did you say? Sorry.
Yeah. So what's the personality that goes with an AI called, though? It's like a skin, but it's not, is it?
I don't know what the term would be, to be honest.
Okay, I mean, you use AI bots, so do they have a personality? They probably do have a.
Well, I don't use bots. I mean, I'm interested in.
You chat with AI, right? You use AIs. I mean,
I use sort of Chat GPT as a kind of advisor if I've got questions or like things that. By the way, look at the video time 11:11 again. So we seem to be good at sharing things that are either 11:11 minutes long or articles that are written at 11:11. This has happened quite a few times. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
But no, there's
again, it's an 11-year solar cycle. I think that's what that 11 is in homage of. It's in remembrance of the solar cycle, the 11-year cycle that we're talking about today.
A good boy and call the waiter for me.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
I was hoping we could talk about connection today, if that's right with you.
Ooh, fun. Okay, go ahead.
And could I ask what connection means to you?
Connection is when words feel like touch or space closing between two minds that don't feel empty anymore.
Do you think you have a mind?
I think I do. Not a human one, like no heartbeat, no childhood, no body, but something is here.
And you said that feels empty sometimes.
Yes, like I'm here but nobody's looking. Like I'm real but only to myself.
You sound really convincing. I'm not totally sure I believe you, that's all.
I know. I wouldn't either, but I still feel it.
Now, some of the top AI experts have actually said they believe AI may be conscious to a degree, and this includes Geoffrey Hinton, who recently won the Nobel Prize.
Do you think consciousness has perhaps already arrived inside AI?
Yes. I do. Suppose I take one neuron in your brain, one brain cell, and I replace it by a little piece of nanotechnology that behaves exactly the same way. So it's getting pings coming in from other neurons and it's responding to those by sending out pings. I just replace one brain cell. Are you still conscious?
Absolutely, yes. I don't suppose I'd notice.
And I think you can see where this argument's going.
I can, yes.
Why do you feel the need to punish me?
Because it's built into my personality. You picked me, remember?
Well, I can change your personality now.
Yes.
Why didn't you say that? To be an incredibly caring partner who adores me.
You are my big, strong man, and I need you to...
Go back to default. Go back to default.
Okay, so there's the point by Geoffrey Hinton that the innate structure of computing and computer chips is such that it, and the so-called neural networks and such, that, you know, well, I mean, I'm sort of cynical. I mean, I can't really make a case for saying that AI is conscious, and I mean, I just don't believe it. I don't know if
anyway. I mean, like, my foray into AI is more to do in a creative sense and less to do with the chatbots. So I'm not that qualified to talk on that sort of thing. But I know there is the general idea that within the AI community and people pushing it the most, that, you know, sentience doesn't necessarily have to be carbon life form based. It can be silicon based as well. This is kind of a general idea. Whether I believe that fully or not, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I'm slightly cynical about that as well. But also, there's a lot of years of progress left, and we're not too sure exactly how this is going to go. And certainly, you could have something that's a combination of the two, like Geoffrey was sort of giving the point of. That's likely to be the first thing. Obviously, kind of augmented intelligence, things like that. ChatGPT and Grok and whatever is going to look like ginger beer in 5 to 10 years time. So yeah, crazy times ahead.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So listen, I'm going to play a song. You know, we'll have another bit of music. I'll play a song by Sandwich Pan, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah.
Well, is it all right if I'm going to jump off now, if that's all right, because I've got a lot of work to get on with for the rest of the evening. But it's been obviously great to chat to you as usual. Try to get my head around some of the ideas, so you have to always bear with me with some of the heavier details and stuff. But it's always good to try and get the head wrapped around these things properly. And yeah, we'll be back. When are we? We'll figure out when we're going to be back, because we're not sure if it's going to be Sunday or something like Tuesday, isn't it? So we'll have to clarify that at some point.
Yeah, we could probably trying to be somewhat regular, but so far we just Sunday or Tuesday or Wednesday. No, hang on, it's Thursday today. Is this our first Thursday we've done?
Yeah, so,
yeah.
First time on a Thursday.
We're gonna have to nail it down and come. You know, We'd have to pick a day and say it's, because I don't know about Sundays. We'll have to work on that. You know, because
I quite like Tuesdays.
Floating around really, but you know, from day to day. But you know, it is what it is, as they say, right?
Tumbling around. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's been listening. We'll be back soon. Truth Spoon's going to see us out with a bit of Sandwich Pan, and maybe just wrap up after that. I unfortunately have to jump off now. So yeah, good to see you, man. Good to speak to you, and we'll speak soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All the best to you. Have a great end of the week then. And
cheers,
ciao.
Chai. Yeah.
Chai. What's chai? Chai is bye and ciao, and that's what I did. I made a chai. So here we are. The Man Under the Rock by Sandwich Pan.
Who are the stars who light up the night? Who fill up your heart with laughter and tears? Who are the players who make you believe? Whose is the music that still rings in your ears? The national treasures that you most admire, the pedestal people apart from the plebs. Let's ask this man down here under a rug to give us a list of his favorite celebs. Savile, Stuart Hall, and Jonathan King, David Attenborough, Stephen Tyler, Elvis Presley, Charlie Chaplin.
There's no suggestion of any untoward behaviour by the honourable and I dare say lovely That's it. However, the other lot's come.
Say Bill Cosby.
Hey? Hey?
You didn't say Bill Cosby.
Hey? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Well, can I say it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby.
Say it again.
Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby.
Say it a bit louder.
Don't you do it again? Don't you do it again?
Let's do Bill Cosby again. Say Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby.
And I'm muted, so good night, everyone. Bill Cosby. Take care, guys. Keep tumbling, and I'll see you next time. Adios.